Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello everyone and welcome to the first weekly wrap up of 2026. And today, this will technically be like wrap up 52 of 2025 and then week 1. And that's because I didn't really read much in week 52 because it was over like Christmas and I only finished literally 2 books. So even though I was home last Saturday and I probably could have filmed one, I had pre-filmed some videos anyway so that I could take a bit of some time off and everything, which was really great. I loved it. I had a wonderful little vacation. And then when I got back was when I was actually like chilling and I did the rewatch of Heated Rivalry so that I could film the 2-hour long epic video that I just put out the other day, or yesterday when you're seeing this, I think. Yeah, it's really hard getting back into the regular days when Christmas is like during the week and then New Year's is during the week. But I had so much fun putting that together because I rewatched it and did everything I did for that video. But yeah, so I have the books to talk about that I finished over the holidays. And then, it's still business as usual. So I have Patreon books to get through. And then the video I'm planning to film after this one, which will go up on Tuesday, will be the 2025 wrap up as a whole. So I put up the December wrap up. This will be the kind of 2025 in reflection. So I'll talk about how many books I read as a whole. Even though I already did the top 10, because that obviously was already a really long video, so I could gush about everything. I'll talk about my stats as a whole. And then as I mentioned in that video, I'm not going to do a bunch of individual goal and challenge videos this time, but instead in that, 2025 wrap up, it'll also be 2025 wrap up and 2026 goals. Cause I just have a few. I have 2 kind of challenges I'm doing, as well as what I'm going to be tracking. So I will talk about what is going to be in the new reading journal, which I haven't even decorated yet because it's been so busy, but I have been, putting together reading journal pages in here. So I'll show that off and I'll talk about that in there, and we'll, wrap up what was in this reading journal and everything. So that's what will be in that video. And then it'll finally be time to get back to some recommendations. So if you have any suggestions for videos you want to see, you can put those in the comments of this video of what are some things you're excited to see, what are some recs that you're craving in this part of the winter, or just know always in all of my videos, sorry, need some tea already here. I have that video recommendation form that's always open in every video that I make. But specifically in this one, you can leave it in the comments what videos you'd like to see in 2026, what you'd like to see me do. The other video that will be coming soon still is that, as I promised in the Heated Rivalry, my gush and adaptation review, I'm going to be doing a video about what I think is ahead, or what I hope is ahead for romance, specifically adaptations. This year we do have to look forward to, because they're filming it right now, the off-campus, which obviously, they're not going to be able to make changes to that show based on what Heated Rivalry did. But I was already looking forward to that one. In fact, I didn't even know about Heated Rivalry. As I've said multiple times, I didn't even know about that until Thanksgiving. It was off campus that I was looking forward to. There's also going to be the last season of Outlander that's coming up in just a couple months. So it will, there'll be a bit more entertainment on the channel this year than normal, because I was planning to review Off Campus, since that one's going to be on Prime, and actually I already have Prime. It's literally the only streaming service that I had before I got HBO Max for, Crave, or to have the Crave thing. So anywho, enough of that. Before we get into it though, I do have 3 new patrons who joined over the holidays that I would love to welcome, because I missed out on welcoming Piru, I think is how you say your name. Welcome so much to you. Thank you so much for joining my Patreon. We also have Louise, who is Perpetual Romance. So welcome. And then we also have Annie S, who joined. So all three of them joined over the holidays, and I'm so, so happy to welcome you. That just means so much to me to have you here. And for all three of you, you can look forward to the exclusive review that will be going up, or will be up by the time you see this. I'm trying to possibly add some stuff to Patreon this year, trying to figure out how to do that. But I'm wanting to restructure just a little bit, and plan things out a little bit better, because Patreon has just been literally a lifesaver for me in so many ways over the past few years. And I mean, I shouldn't get down on myself. I know I'm very consistent with my Patreon. Even when I feel like I'm behind, like, I know I'm extremely consistent with it, but I just want to be more like in charge of the actual like timeliness of it so that I don't feel overwhelmed. But I'm just so grateful to everyone over there who you literally keep me going. So thank you so much for making this possible and helping me be able to take vacations. And, I've said this, and I'm going to keep saying it, because I've gotten so many kind messages, particularly from patrons who, people are willing to be a little more vulnerable on my Patreon in how they message me. But you guys have messaged me in my comments here too, people who also have brain fog or cognitive issues because of medications they're on, or just because of illnesses. And I have just really struggled with that in December. And hearing people just be so kind and supportive of that. It's just been just a fraction of that has affected me. But just how kind and generous everyone's been, and not making me feel dumb, which is how I have felt. No one has said that, and no one should ever feel that, ever, whether it's medication or just your natural brain feeling that way. Like, you should never feel that way. But we're ourselves hardest critic often as it is. But anyway, and then one final thing, the cold sore in the room. Yes, I have a big black star on my face. It also is in my heated Rivalry review, which I hated to do, but I always get a cold sore in the heat of the summer and the dead of the winter. Those are like the 2 times a year that I get them. And thank goodness technically this one's an acne patch, because it looks cuter on camera than the other ones. But when it was time to film my heated Rivalry review, I was so prepped for that video. I had notes upon notes. I had everything ready to go. And I was like, I am not filming this because I feel self-conscious about my face. So I just did it. And the same thing is today. I know you guys don't mind. But if I keep touching, it also keeps me from like touching it with my, germ-filled hands. But if you see me doing this, it's just because I can't help it, and there's the patch on my face, so I'm sorry that I'm doing that. But let's get into these books. Oh, I gotta show off one of her things. My friend Laura ordered me this adorable little Outlander book on I can't get it close enough, but it's literally a little Outlander book on a necklace, because she knows how much I love it. But it doesn't quite hang all the way up here, but just so you know. She's so sweet. My friend, who's definitely not bookish at all, saw this at a craft fair and bought it for me. So Laura doesn't watch my channel because she doesn't read romance, but shout out to my friend Laura, who's the sweetest ever. Thank you so much. Okay, so here we go. So the first thing that I finished was a reread of Wildside, which Wildside was in my top books of the year. So this one I was rereading for Amber, which was actually my like November Patreon book for her. So thank you, Amber, for being patient. This was one of the ones I was really struggling to get through with the brain fog here. And this book really, I don't want to say I didn't like it, because I gave it 5 stars when I read it the first time around. But there was something about Tabby that wasn't like jiving for me the first time that I read this. When I reread this book, she worked for me even more this time around. And I just really, really love her. But anyway, this one is book 3 in the Rose Hill series, and this one is Tabitha, who she finds out that the guardianship for her nephew is being contested when her sisters died. And she finds out that her sister, again, who just died, didn't make things as clear cut as she would have thought about who is going to be taking care of her nephew. And instead, the like landlord / neighbor is actually the one who might be taking care of her nephew. And that just throws Tabby way off the deep end, because she actually kind of blames Reese for the situation that her sister found herself in, which really isn't fair. But Tabby, you know, she is actually attracted to Reese, and she thought they had kind of a deal about, they were both kind of looking out for Tabby, who did have some drug-related issues. And her nephew, who I just forgot his name. Dang it. What's the cute? Milo. And so they have this antagonistic relationship because of that misunderstanding. And Reese, though he knows she's being unfair to him, he also can see that she needs somewhere to put her grief, which is coming out as anger. And he chooses to kind of let her blame him instead of, you know, clearing up the situation. He chooses to kind of let her take it out on him. Now, Reese, he is secretly a pro wrestler. And he is actually not a Canadian citizen. And so he actually has his, you know, if he were to have to move to the States permanently, he would be taking Milo with him because he's a guardian of Milo. And that means Tabby is going to have to suck up her problems with him and try to work things out. And that leads them to a marriage of convenience to help with his immigration status to Canada. And as they spend more time with one another, not only does she find out his secret job, which she gets a huge kick out of when she figures out that it's him, but she gets to know him more and more and realizes that her sister was kind of purposely keeping these two apart. And that her sister, you know, she knew her sister had problems. She wasn't blind to them. But she also didn't realize her sister was callously keeping these two apart for the potential that they would like each other and that there could be more between them. And Milo was kind of was suffering because of that. So anyway, that is a weird way to explain that. But it's like Reese is someone who's never really had a home. He himself is an orphan. He grew up in foster care. And so that's a big reason why, like, Tabby's able to, not Tabby, the sister who died, Erica, is able to take advantage of Reese's generosity. I mean, he's a wealthy man. He's a celebrity, a secret celebrity. And when Erica finds out what he does, and is able to use his care of Milo as a way to kind of manipulate him into being a guardian of Milo because he doesn't want to see a kid suffer. He takes that role very seriously and he loves Milo. And so when Erica kind of convinces him that, like, Tabby and Erica's parents don't really care about Milo very much, that's part of why when Erica dies, he's like, well, I'm not just going to give you guardianship of your nephew because I've heard you don't, like, care about him enough. And he's not going to let a kid go to a home like that, even if it's really the kid's parents, because he knows that not all legal parents love kids right, you know? So anyway, all of it is from a good place. They're just coming at it, not knowing the full picture, and Erica is a big reason that they don't. But once they start to get past that, it's really only a matter of time before they fall completely head over heels for one another. And I just absolutely love them. And this is a very slow burn. And yes, it relies a lot on miscommunication. But this one, I believe, because they were purposely led to that miscommunication by someone who interfered with it. But because Milo is this wonderful child that they want to do right by, you understand why they keep trying. And yeah, I love Tabby. her kind of bitchiness and hard edge is coming from a good place. And there's some really beautiful things about her. So she is a chef. She cooks at a place, and when she discovers that like Reese is someone who he wasn't fed well as a kid, right? And now he's this big like pro wrestler and everything. And she shows her care for him by making sure he always has the meals he wants, like in the freezer, and like feeding him. And oh, there's just so much like little care that goes into stuff like that. Like I just eat that stuff up. So this absolutely stayed at a 5-star, and it's why it ended up in like my favorites of the year, basically. Did this one end up, actually, now that I'm saying it, I think maybe it didn't, but it was very close to the top of it. If I didn't have this at the very top, it was very close to it. I think I ended up with just Wildcard in the top now that I'm blabbing on about it. I didn't bump this one up to a 6-star, but I should have, is what I'm saying, because it was so good. Okay, next up was another fan fiction. As I had shared when I did my monthly wrap up, I got through 4 fan fictions in December, and they were all Holinoff. They were all Shane Hollander and Ilya Rozanov fan fictions. And this one was called Next Chapter by Peace Lilies. And this one, let me double check. I think this is the one I picked as my favorite fic of December. It is. Okay. Because this one, the reason why I like this one better than, so the one I read kind of earlier in the month that was another long one was called Visions from the Future by Womanly Panther. That was another like one that was kind of full length. So I read, like I said, I read 4 fics that were all taking place after The Long Game. Okay. So this is a bit deep cut. All right. So if you read The Long Game, you know where it ends, and it ends with, I don't want to spoil anything, but it ends at a certain place where all of us are like, ooh, we just want this one next thing to happen. We want to see this one next part happen of their HEA. And 2 of those were just like one shots that I read that were like 50 pages where you get to see that, just that next part. And then 2 of them, which Visions of the Future did that, which that one kept like skipping ahead and ahead and ahead, and it showed the next 30 years of their lives where they like ended up, you know, having children and like all the HEA stuff that you want. Like it just kept going through their whole lives together, and it was beautiful. Loved it. I cried in that one. I think the author of that one did a really good job with where they took it. And then this one was one that I saw Mel from Mel Vines Fics. You know, I love my girl. She had like bound a fic of this one, and I was like, oh boy. And this one is a long one. This one is like 460 pages. And this one I liked though because it didn't like kept skipping ahead so much. So Visions from the Future literally was like each chapter in the same way, like, you know, in the same way that like Heated Rivalry will skip 2 years, 3 years, like it keeps skipping ahead for like 10 years in that one. Visions of the Future like keeps doing snapshots of their lives until they're literally like 70 years old and are like, you know, have like grandkids type of thing. Whereas Next Chapter is like the next, I think it's just the next like 7 years of their lives or so. And again, not to spoil the direct Long Game stuff, but it's them, well, just skip to the next book if you don't want to know this, because I want to tell what this one was about, because it was really cute. So this one, Next Chapter, picks up 6 years later, and it starts off with, it's going to be Ilya's last year playing. He wants to retire because they want to adopt a kid. And so it starts off with like, they're both playing for the same team, and it's going to be their last year. So the first like half of the book is like, just every last together, their last like first start of the year, their last like all-star game, their you know, all the last things. And then when it gets to like the end of that, Ilya gets a call that his brother died, and his brother had left. Now this wasn't the first child, so not the child that you hear about in the show. But his brother, which now remember, and maybe you don't, but like in the book, his brother's name isn't Alexei, it's Andre. So Andre had a child with a mistress who's only a month old. So not his niece who's like with his, like growing up with his mother. And the mother of this bastard child like doesn't want them. And so Ilya and Shane, because they want to adopt a child, like Ilya goes back to Russia and Shane and Ilya adopt this daughter. And now I can't remember what her name is. Dang it. But they adopt his niece. And Ilya ends up having to like stay there for a while, which is like a really like scary part. He has to stay there for a while till everything works out. And basically his connections with like Svetlana and with people, they're able to adopt this child and bring it back. And so it's about them then being dads while Shane is still playing hockey. And Ilya is basically the like single dad and like a wag and everything. So I loved this one so much, and it was really beautiful. And yeah, I cried in this one too. And yeah, I loved this one. So yeah, I'll have a link down below to next chapter. And I really loved this fanfic author. And so from Peace Lily, I actually have 2 other fics that I've downloaded that I hope I'll get to read in January. I low-key have them on the side because, so I'm now ready to read some even more offshoots. And one of them that I have, you guys, I've already shared this on Threads. One of them is going to be it's a Mafia AU. It's a Mafia AU. I'm so excited. I can't even tell you. And Shane is, I think, like a high school hockey coach. And when their team is like staying at a hotel for like there to be a game, like he hooks up with a mafia guy at a hotel, and it's Ilya. A Russian mafia guy happens to be at the hotel and they hook up. I'm so excited. Anyway, sorry. So, but that's also by Peace Lily. And then there's another one too where I think it's one. This one seems a bit naughtier, but I think he's actually like, I think they're both actually married and they like have an affair with each other. So that one might be one that I don't love, but I grabbed them because I really like this fic author. So I think I want to try that one too. But anywho, really liked the next chapter. Again, I don't rate fics, but that was my favorite of the 4 Hall and Off fics that I read in December. So I'll leave a link to it. So next, I listened to the ALC of Cursed King by Julie Salmon. So this is the new, like, dark romance. I really thought this was supposed to be a romantasy, but I think I was making that up because it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling that I thought it was supposed to be a romantasy. It's not. It's like light dark romance is what I would call it. And so Julie Shaman, remember, is Jay Shaman, who does like the Boston billionaire ones, the doctor ones. And this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And it was the first part of a duet, but the second part is coming the end of January. And this is going to be a series though, which I didn't realize this, I don't think, but the way it's going to work is like books 1 and 2 are a duet, but then it's going to be single books going forward. And they're going to be fairy tale retellings. And I think already, like, it's Cursed King is the one I read, and then Cursed Queen is coming the end of January. And then the next one is going to be a Cinderella retelling, I think is what she announced, because I saw the pre-orders already up. But anyway, Cursed King was an ALC, and it was dual narration by Sean Masters and Desiree Ketchum. And this was kind of cool because it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and the Beast is a king of this, you know, kind of course, a made-up country. And it felt a little like, it was funny, it felt kind of like, do you guys remember the movie from, like, the early 2000s that was The Beautician and the Beast, that has, like, Fran from, like, The Nanny? It's like a cross between that well, I mean, that's already a Beauty and the Beast. Like, it's a cross between that and, like, a Beauty and the Beast, like, more of a dark gothic one. Because our heroine is Bellamy, and she's in this made-up little, it's like a France, of course, because she's in this small country, and she is from America, but her father was a traveler. Her mother died when she was 15, and her father was an academic, but in the accident that killed her mother, her father basically has this, like, he had like a traumatic brain injury that basically accelerated him into like dementia or something like that. And they ended up in this small country where he's now in basically an assisted living type place or a hospital there. So he's in a loony bin, you know, right? So think of like, you know, that's what Maurice is always threatened to get put into by like Gaston. He's literally in one, let's say. And Bellamy is working to pay for his care in this small country. And then we have the royal family, which is under a curse, okay? Enter our cursed king. And so there's this king, and he has 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. And in the prologue of this story, he's actually like having a picnic with his 3 kids, and they're waiting for his wife to get home. And his queen, who, the backstory of this is that his family is cursed. He has siblings, and they have each, like, it's all, I won't share every single detail, but each sibling has a different way that they're cursed. And the only way that he was like able to be married is that like he doesn't love his wife. She was his friend when they were young. She loved him. He didn't like love her, but he loved her. She was his friend, and they got married and they had these 3 kids. But he wasn't like in love with her, right? It's supposed to be that type of thing. Like, he just respected her, and she was his queen. But then they're having this picnic, and the wife is supposed to be coming home. She'd been visiting her sick mother, and the helicopter is bringing her home. And so they're waiting. They're on the lawn having a picnic, and the helicopter bringing the wife home literally explodes, like, in front of the whole, like, him and his kids. The helicopter with his wife explodes, and she dies. And when that happens, then he truly like believes in this curse now, where he hadn't believed in it before. And he doesn't let any of his kids leave the castle now. So his 3 children, his 2 daughters and a son, they haven't left the castle in 3 years. And they're having problems keeping a nanny because the kids get in trouble. So, that's the whole setup of this. Then the way that this continues the Beauty and the Beast trope is that Bellamy, she gets a call one day when she's like on her way to like work, which again, she's working in this, basically this foreign country to like keep her father taken care of. And she gets a call from the facility that her father has escaped. And he, I guess, went towards the castle or something. So she gets there, and her father has like broken into the castle, and in his delusions, literally, he thinks he's inventing this crazy thing, and he thinks this castle is MIT, and he's going to show them his new discovery. And so literally she goes to the gates, and she tells the guard, she's like, I've been told my father broke in, please, he's crazy. Like, literally, they're like, he's mentally ill, he's not trying to hurt anyone. And they're like, yes, there has been a disturbance, he's being questioned. And she's like, please, I promise he's ill, he's not trying to hurt anyone. And they're like, sorry, we can't do anything, like, no one is allowed to come in, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, please, he's ill, don't you have anyone in your life, like, blah, 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 like, and so they let her in, and they're like, okay, just wait in this area, I'll go see what's going on with your father. And while she's waiting, she knocks something over, and the 2 princesses actually stumble across her, the 2 little girls stumble across her and start talking, and they like are kind of charmed by her. And then the king comes across her talking to his daughters, and he's getting all like, well, actually I think one of the maids or someone comes across first and sees how good she is with her, and discovers that she's like an English teacher, like she's teaching English to students here, and they've been having a problem keeping a nanny. And now this woman like might owe them a favor because her father broken in, and the king, of course, is like so pissed that they like broke in and could be a danger to his daughter. But instead he goes along with his housekeeper, and he agrees to basically kind of like blackmail her into working for him. So that's the setup. And in true Jenn fashion, I've just explained the first 3 chapters to you, but that's it. That's the setup of this book. So it's a lot to set up, but it was a really cute setup, and I loved all the beats of this that feel like Beauty and the Beast. But I'll be honest about that. A couple things. One, it feels a lot like Beauty and the Beast. B, there are some things that feel dark about it, but mostly what's dark about it is that our king likes BDSM. He's a kinky king. And so he's immediately lustful after her. And he's denied himself anything he loves, for a long time. Because he was faithful to his wife when he was with her. And now that he's single, you know, anyone he's with is trying to obviously be the next queen. And now here's this girl there who he shouldn't have her, and yada, yada, yada. So they fall for each other very fast. And I was confused by that because I knew this was supposed to be a duet. But the second one is called Cursed Queen. So I was like, wow, are they going to get married so fast that she's like a cursed queen? So, I mean, I won't tell you where it gets to with this one, but there was a cliffhanger to this one. So yeah, but I mean, I want to listen to the next one. I will absolutely sign up for the ALC of the next one, because this was from Must Love Audio, and I enjoyed it. I love the narration of Sean Masters. I will always listen to something he narrates, and it was good. I just, it didn't quite feel dark. Like I said, the only thing that really made it dark is that, I mean, the prologue of like how his wife died in front of them, and then like there's supposed to be this curse, and like there is someone trying to come for the king. And then the fact that they do the most barest of BDSM things. Like there's some nipple clamps and there's some edging, and she's a virgin who's really, really horny for the big dick of the king. It wasn't that dark, but I don't know if this is, you know, I interviewed Julie back in, was it October? I interviewed her on my Instagram. I think this is the first time she's went dark. I mean, she's definitely written some kinky stuff before, but I just don't quite know what made it dark other than that. Because honestly, it wasn't. But that didn't make it bad. I think too that it might grow to be that. If this was the first one, maybe she just didn't know how dark she wanted to go. Because it's just one of those that, here's what I mean by this. You guys know, like, when something's called dark romance, there's a few things you're usually looking for. Is it dark because it's mafia or BDSM? Which, yes, it has a little bit of that. Is it dark because their relationship is dark? Is it dark because there's, like, bad things happening to them? Someone gonna get kidnapped or tortured? Or is there assault? Or is there, you know, those things? And it just is, like, close to some of those, but not quite any of those. So, you know, it's a dark romance because the author says so, but also kind of. So anyway, I enjoyed it enough. I gave it a 4-star. I will continue with it. It did have a little bit of breath play. He does use a belt for breath play, which, I mean, that was hot. Also, he does say, like, you better get on birth control because I'm not using condoms with you. So there's some risky sex behavior. There's some sex toys. And then, yeah, the death of a parent, death of a spouse. So it does have those. So again, some people might consider this dark compared to what she wrote before, and that's probably why. But this is just the beginning of this pen name, so maybe it'll get there. Maybe this is just her easing her audience in, and she didn't want to go, you know, full bazooka with it or anything. So there we go. Alrighty. Next up, though, I had a reread of Fractured Souls by Neva Altai, and this one definitely is dark. And this is one of the darkest starting out ones of Neva's. I remember when I read this for the first time, because this one is Asya and Pavel. And this is the one where it starts out with Asya, who is the sister of Sienna, who Sienna is actually the heroine of one of my favorite ones in the series, and Arturo. And this starts out, though, with Asya actually in captivity. And she's been captured and is being forced into prostitution and sexual slavery, and being, drugged and forced to see many different men each night. But in the beginning, though, so we know that's happening to her. Thankfully, like, we're just told a lot of what's happening to her. We see her try to escape once in the beginning, get dragged back. And then one of the men she's with actually has a heart attack. And instead of her, she kind of just watches it happen to him. He asks her to get him his pills from his coat. And instead of helping, she just watches him die. And good for her, man. Good for her. And so then when his like bodyguard breaks in and is like, what the fuck, she's able to make a run for it. And she actually runs right into the road and gets kind of she gets kind of hit by Pavel's car. And so Pavel actually brings her to his home, and the doctor looks her over and says, like, she's been drugged out of her mind. She's been absolutely, like, destroyed. He says that, of, like, raped and everything. And at first, like, he just says, like, she's been obviously kept as a sex slave. And I believe, too, like, because Pavel was there, I think, to look over this club, and they're finding out about this drug that's being used and that it's being sold in some of their clubs. And, it's like, he's from the Bratva, so it's like the Bratva doesn't want those type of drugs being in their clubs, and so, like, it's the back and forth of all that and everything. But he doesn't realize whose sister this is right away, and she doesn't want to say who she is, because, he wants to help her find home. And the thing is that Asya, I think she's been there, I can't remember how long she's kept, but it's a month or two that she's held captive. And she went missing when she was it's 2 months, I think. She went missing when she was with her sister. Like, she got kidnapped when I think she went to a party with Sienna, and they're twins. And so Sienna's held a lot of guilt about her, because I think, like, Asya didn't even want to go with. Like, it was something like that of, like, because it's a big deal, I remember, from Sienna's book, because I've read Sienna's book multiple times. I've read her book. I know that for her, it's a really big deal. She holds a lot of guilt for what happens to her. But Asya, she just feels so dirty, of course, and just used, in that she didn't try to get away enough. And, I mean, what could she do? They keep her drugged and abused. But she forms an attachment to Pavel. And nobody can really explain it, because he's this big, tattooed, suited guy, and she's not afraid of him, though she's afraid of anyone else in a suit or with tattoos. But she forms this, like, because he's the one who saved her, she forms this, like, bond to him. And she doesn't want to tell him who her brother is, and doesn't want to be rescued. And even then, eventually, once she says who her family is, he's like, sweetheart, we'll go get that. Like, let me take you home. And she's like, no. It's better if they think I'm dead. And he's like, sweetheart, it is not. Like, they do not want, like, they want you back. And she's like, no, they don't. And it's just so hard. And this one is this one was a real stunner at the time, I remember, too, because every one of these books is dark. It's not like Neva writes these light and fluffy things. They all have dark things. But I remember when this came out, like, even the trigger warning at the beginning, like, she says that, she digs a little bit deeper in with it than she does with the other ones, right? In other ones, it's usually the man who's dealt with it, or else it's breezed over a bit more. Like, even in Broken Whispers, like, we know some of the things that heroine's been through, but they've already, like, happened. And in this one, we come in when she's in the middle of them, and she can't even make decisions about what to eat. and like what to wear, and she doesn't want to shower on her own, and she doesn't want, like she's been shattered and fractured, as it were, and that's just really hard. But at the same time, because of the type of writer that Neva is, she never makes you like sit in it too long. And it's one of the reasons why I like had really fallen in love with this author. I love whenever I reread one of hers, even when it's one of the hard ones, because she has this way of an economy of words, is what I would say. And it's why I liked her earlier title. Like, I know this one was number 6, but I said this when we get to some of, particularly I felt that in her most recent one, where, I don't know, I just felt like maybe she felt like she wanted to explore the things more, which is all right. I mean, she can explore whatever she wants. She's written how many books now? You can explore new things in it. But I liked when she did ones like this, that this book, it never felt like she shortchanged them, but this was a 240-page book, and I liked that I still felt like I really understood what Asya went through, but I didn't have to dwell in her pain unendingly, yet it still felt like it was given proper weight, and it didn't feel that Pavel ever tried to rush her through anything, and it didn't feel like she just got over it too quickly, right? So I don't know, not everyone will agree with that, and there definitely are dark romances that you are going to have to struggle with that for more, right? Like, Pam Godwin is never going to get you through the trauma in 240 pages, right? You're not. But if you're someone who still wants to see the characters go through something and that it doesn't just disappear, but you also don't have the brain space to like, I can't suffer this long, I think Neva's great. Like, it's another reason I like Michelle Hurd. I think Michelle Hurd does that too. Like, you'll get hit with the thing and you're like, oh, but then we get out of it and it still feels like it meant a thing. And then also she gives a really good vengeance. Like, there's a scene in this one where, she told him, or he had told her, he's like, I'm going to find the people that had raped you and I'm going to end them. And in this one, when he finds them, he doesn't tell her after he's killed them. He shows her a picture and says, is this the person who had like taken you? And she says, yes. And he's like, okay, I got him. And he's like, do you want to watch? Because he promised she could, but he also wants to make sure she actually still wants that. And she says, yes. And he's like, then get your coat, let's go. Because she hasn't wanted to like leave the apartment yet. She feels safe at his home, and leaving the apartment's like a big deal for her. So when they do, then not only does she want to watch, like, she wants to do it, because she needs to not only see the person die, she needs to do it to know that it's done. And Pavel lets her do that. And like, that's just a really powerful thing. So yeah, just really great. This is a 5-star read. Really good. The intimacy is done so good. Like, there's just so much packed in here. Like, one of the first times that he like, because there's multiple, like, a very slow build up to this, which is good. It should be like one of the first times they just cuddle in bed with like very little clothes on. He's like, I'm just comforting you. And even she wants more. And he's like, no, I'm just comforting you. And just to feel his like skin and to just feel safe when there's nothing else going to be happening. Then the first time he like gets intimate with her, he goes down on her and she is just like, please don't do that. And he's like, why? What feels wrong? Just tell me. He's like, whatever you want, we'll do. But like, he's like, but it feels like you're into it. Like, tell me why. And she's like, I'm dirty. And he's like, oh, baby, no. Like, we've got to change that. And like, it just feels so good. And then eventually we get to a scene where she's like, no, I want you to take me like you want to. Like, I'm not broken. But it took all those little steps to get there. And even when he still is like, you have to be totally in control of this. And she's like, but now I don't want to be in control of it. I want you to be in control of it. But he let her have all those steps. And to be able to do that in this book, again, some people won't feel like that's believable. And that's totally okay. Like, then like Mafia is not the place for you to be exploring probably trauma responses after sex then. But I think Neva does such a great job of that. So anyway, all right, then it was the Heated Rivalry reread. We don't gotta talk about that in this one. I have up the 2-hour, which side over here, I have up the 2-hour recap and review that I did. Talked about this in 2 others, but this was when I reread this and did my full highlight. If you haven't watched that thing yet, just so you know, for the video that I did, I went through and I marked where each episode started. And then I put a flag where each scene was, and then where each dialogue is directly from the book. I did the green, blue was Shane's dialogue, the yellow was Ilya's, pink was where like the scene was happening. And so yeah, every flag in here is a scene directly from the show. So it was freaking amazing. Loved it. 5-star book for me. It gets better every time that I'm doing it. So there was that one. Then I got to one that people have been wanting me to read for so long. It's been in my book rec form. It's been on multiple TBRs. I had the audiobook and I finally had the physical book because Podium actually published physical copies of it. So I finally read For the Fans. And I even had people keep messaging me about it because I had put it on my Instagram as a currently reading. And it did take me about 10 days to get through this book because I started it before Christmas as an audiobook. Actually started listening to it when I dyed my hair before Christmas. But then I hadn't updated it, so people thought that I got rid of it. And I'll tell you what happened with it, but I did enjoy it before anyone freaks out. But yes, For the Fans, I mostly listened to it. I listened to actually about, I think I listened to about 60% of it. And then I did actually switch to the Kindle book because I just wanted to finish it. And I actually don't like one of the narrators. Ooh, I feel so bad. I don't know why. I think it's because on 2 times speed, one of the narrators just sounds really nasally and he didn't sound sexy. And I feel so bad. But you know what? I review books and I review audiobooks and he just sounded really nasally. The narrator for our Avi is Javi Wilder and I didn't like him. I'm so sorry. And that bummed me out because I like Avi. Like, I liked Avi, the character. And so whenever his chapter would come up, I would find myself, like, wanting to skim listening to him. And I was like, no. We can't do that because he has the juiciest parts. And so it was taking me forever to get through the audio. And then finally, just the other day then, I was like, well, because this ended up being my last book of 2025. And so literally when I got home from the New Year's Eve party I was at and I was going to wrap this up, I like just finished it on Kindle because I was like, I had the Kindle book, the physical book, and the audio. I was like, I just want to finish it. I'm liking this book, but the audio isn't working. So I switched it up and I went to this and I ended up really enjoying this and I understand why people like it. But let's get into what For the Fans is. So For the Fans by Nyla K is a stepbrother romance. And they're stepbrothers who do OnlyFans because their family ends up in a bit of a financial pickle. And one of them has started an OnlyFans already. And if they collab, they can make a shit ton of money, which can help keep them in school because they have like scholarships for tuition, but like not for living expenses. And through their stuff that is for the fans, they end up realizing that they have a lot more feelings. In fact, some feelings that have been being repressed, as it were, that go way beyond just doing it for the fans. So there is Kyron Harbor, who is the one who his dad in the beginning is the rich and powerful one. And he is a football star. He's the quarterback. And when he is, how old is he at the start of this? I don't even know. I think he's like 17 when his dad marries Kyron's mother, Hannah. When marries Avi's mother, Hannah. Yeah. And Avi is this kind of like alternative emo. They're the same age. And Kieran just like hates him right away and feels like he's kind of encroaching in on his life, and honestly becomes a bit of a bully to him. And so you think like, oh, is this going to be a bully romance? But there's also this edge of like, I don't know, as someone who's read a lot of romance at this point, I was like, oh, he's being homophobic to him because he's attracted to him. But the thing is too, is like Kieran doesn't even think he's like attracted to guys in the beginning. Like he doesn't even think that he's like bisexual in the beginning. And it isn't, they don't even like start experimenting with anything until like the OnlyFans thing becomes something. Because when they then, you know, they've been stepbrothers for a couple of years, they're both end up at the same college, and then the bomb drops that the dad is like, the business issues happening and they're both going to be in trouble. And one of Avi's friends already has an OnlyFans, and she invites literally both Avi and Kieran to collab with her, and she'll split the money with them. And so it's supposed to be a threesome with her, and it's super full of a lot of tension and like very awkward because Kieran is being like a total douche about it, but they make some money off of it. And so then Avi ends up starting one, but right away, like, which he's doing good with it, just solo stuff, but they start, you know, his fans want him to collab with people. And eventually Kieran is kind of like egged into joining, but everything they do is a fight because Kieran is like, doesn't want to like it. And so just for me reading it, I just was like, I just was not having a good time reading this because I'm like, everything is so full of self-hatred for Kieran. Now, again, I know that that's going to change. Like, obviously, I knew there was something going on. Now, I didn't look up any of the triggers for this. So, you know, because I didn't want the spoilers and I knew, you know, but like I knew there had to be reasons. And like Kieran hates his dad. His dad is very like, you know, dismissive of him, and nothing he does is good enough. The dad doesn't, you know, the dad only cares really about like football, but also isn't that encouraging about it either. And he's nicer to Avi, which like not helpful for Avi and Kieran getting along. And Kieran also has a sister who lives far away and never comes around. And Kieran's mother isn't involved in his life either. Hannah's nicer to Kieran than his mom is. And so like Kieran just has a lot against him, and he's not really interested in girls, even though the girls are interested in him. So like there's all of those things in there that like, you know, something's up. But just the way that he treats Avi, you're like, Avi, why do you put up with this? But Avi likes getting him all in a twist. And again, like I said, Avi hadn't been interested in guys, but he's interested in how he gets reactions out of Kieran, and also how he can make Kieran kind of do what he wants. And in fact, Kieran will be kind of submissive to him when he starts bossing him around. And he just starts, like, they both just start falling for each other and everything. So anyway, I'm doing a bad job explaining this, but when I tell you that like the first 60% of this is just such a fight, it was really hard to want to keep going. And that's partially why I didn't have a lot of updates of like showing that I was still reading it, because I was ready to DNF this so many times. And then with the audiobook, like I said, I did not like the narrator for Avi, but Avi was my favorite point of view. Like it was hard to want to keep reading it. I just didn't want to DNF it because I know how much people love it. And again, I was in an mood. Like if I had not been in the heated rivalry, like bubble and in a sports mood, like I would not have kept going with this. So happy for that. And then once it starts to crack, and you know there's stuff going on with Kieran. Like I knew something had happened to him. Spoiler alert. Like I knew something had happened to him to make him think he couldn't be gay, to make him think he couldn't love. Because honestly, it wasn't the stepbrother part that was the problem. That's what like the switch is in this, is that they have only been stepbrothers since they're 17. Like, it's not the stepbrother part that's the problem. That's what you're supposed to think is the problem. It's something happened to Chiron, like, you just know. And Avi puts up with so much, and he's such a thoughtful, caring guy, and Chiron just needs him to be patient. And you also, though, then need, once Chiron is working through what's going on, he needs to do the grand gestures, because, again, even though he has trauma and he has stuff that he gets forgiven for because of what happened to him, Avi then deserves the grand gestures because he's literally was bullied by him. Like, you know, like, trauma doesn't forgive trauma, right? Trauma doesn't mean you get to give it, right? There's plenty of bad people who had bad things done to them, and that doesn't mean they get to do it to others, right? But in this case, because Avi is willing to forgive, he deserves big gestures. He deserves lots and lots of love. And when Chiron gives that, you just melt in a pile of goo. You just melt in a pile of goo, and you know that Avi is happy with what he gets from Chiron, and where their relationship ends up is so beautiful. And I even was surprised, to round this out, that the arc for Chiron's dad, I was not expecting that Nyla K was going to do that, or that I would be okay with it. It doesn't just get at all. It doesn't just get fixed, but I was like, you know what? That's fair. And I'm glad that that just didn't get trashed like I thought it might. So overall, I was going to give this a 4 because of how hard it was to get through. But once you get through the entire thing, it's like all the seeds were there. All of it is there. And every reaction that Chiron has is in line with his character and what he's been through. And it isn't a bully romance. It's a trauma response. It's a protection of yourself. And it's not like, you know, it's not like a Penelope Douglas bully romance. And it's not like it's not even like a Rena Kent bully romance. And it's not a bully romance. It's not. It's just that's where I was fearful that it was going. And none of the things that, like, he says some cruel things, you know, and there is a couple physical altercations that happen, but it isn't the type of thing where it's like, I'm literally, like, there isn't any non-con or dub-con, there isn't anything like that in here. So there wasn't anything so insurmountable to forgive. A lot of it was words that had to be forgiven and things we had to, like, talk about. And so I gave this 4.5 stars. Let me get to the point. When all was said and done, like, I give this 4.5 stars rounded to 5 because I see why everyone loved it. And it honestly restored my faith in Nyla K, because part of the reason this took me so long, I should have said this at the start, part of the reason this took me so long is, like, I had read Nyla K before and I'm not a fan. And so when so many people wanted me to read for the fans and said how great it was, I was like, is it though? Is it though? Because I've read 3 different things from her and they all just seemed to be for shock value. Everything I'd read before were all just as salacious as possible. And when I heard stepbrothers who record corn videos together, I was like, okay, guys, I'm good. But it truly ended up being very sweet, though it is still a 4.5 on the spice scale. And I mean, when they are recording, well, even when they're not recording, they say some of the most ridiculous, like, that was part of the thing of listening to it too, is some of the sex scenes, I'm like I had to skim because I was like, don't say those words out loud when you're, like, it was gross. Some of the sex, I'm sorry, some of the sex scenes, not the sex they were having was hot. The words they were saying were gross. I just don't need to hear them out loud spoken. So listening to it was difficult for me. But anyway, I'm glad I finally got to it. I did it, guys. I did it. So that was great. Okay, and then just the last one to mention, because I will be reviewing this one for my Patreon. I finished the Patreon read of December just last night, and that was The Pucking Wrong Number by C.R. Jane. So if you are a member of my Patreon at the Swooning For You level or above, you'll be able to get my exclusive review of that, which is available right now. This was definitely an interesting ride, I will tell you that. So tune in for that if you'd like to see it. So there you go. That will be my wrap up of the last week of 2025 and the first week of 2026. So thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. And I hope you are having a wonderful new year thus far. Thank you so much to my new patrons, and thank you to all my channel members who help make what I do here possible. I'll have links to all the books I talked about down below, as well as some of the other affiliate links that I use and things like that. Make sure you check those out. And we'll see you next time, my friends.